So today I'm hoping to convince you to build Alexa skills and show you how easy it is, especially if you have experience with Node.js. How many of you have already built a skill for Amazon Alexa? I'm hoping no hands go up, so at least it's useful for everyone. Good. Although I'm a bit sad at the same time. But you will go home today and build one for sure. Everyone have a device? Who has a device? Raise your hand. Echo or something? OK. You don't need one to build a skill, so don't worry. I was just testing you. All right. I just have a couple slides just to give you a bit of a rationale as to why we're doing this. And then we'll go straight into we'll quit out of PowerPoint and I'll show you how to build one, hopefully in 20 minutes. So I'll start the timer now and I'll try and stick to the time. So why do we talk about voice? It's been around for a long time. Some would say millions of years, right? But why do we care about it now? We've seen that every 10 years or so, there's been a new way, a new type of interface that's come about, right? So from the character mode to the GUI to web to mobile, and now voice. But if you notice, all of these types of interfaces are still here today. We were just showing screenshots of the command line. We're still using GUIs, and we're not here to tell you that voice will replace everything. But we really think that voice has some specific applications that make it superior to the other types of interface. We're still at the beginning, so there's definitely some kinks to iron out. But here are a couple examples. So what's the modern way of adding a to-do list without voice today, right? It's taking out your phone, unlocking your phone. It's getting faster with Face ID and stuff. Locating and opening the appropriate app, typing in the to-do list. So there's all these steps between wanting to do something and having that thing done. Whereas I could just say, Alexa, add book flight to my to-do list. And I didn't have to look away. I didn't have to be rude. And I'll tell you a little bit about how we're also making sure that you don't have to worry about being close to an Alexa device. Another example, anyone have smart home devices? Yeah, I'm seeing some nodding faces. It's not a raising your hand type of crowd, is it? OK. The modern way is, if you don't use voice, is again using smartphone apps. The problem with smart home is that every vendor has a different app. So you have to find the right app. I have a colleague who's a smart home fanatic, and he has pages and pages of different smart home apps. I think it's a little overkill. But what's the old way of turning off the light, right? Just getting up, walking to the lights, and turning it off. So sometimes we're just using technology for technology's sake. I'm not trying to hate on apps here. I think they're wonderful, and I use them every day in my pocket. But there is still room, when you're in your bed under the covers and you realize the bathroom light is still on, and you wish you could just say, oh, light, turn off. And you can do that with Alexa. Last example, and then we'll get into the coding. Ocado. Anyone here use Ocado? Yeah? Oh, perfect. So you probably use the app, right? But to use the app, this is a screenshot of my phone. You have to find the app, which is in my food folder in my second screen, which is always pretty messy. I didn't put the loading page here. Type in, tuna, for example. Find the tuna that you usually buy, add it, and add it to your cart. They also made a skill, an Amazon Alexa skill, which is practically a voice app, but we like to call them skills because you're teaching Alexa something new. You can just say, Alexa, ask Ocado to add tuna to my trolley, and again, immediate. And the way that they've built the skill is to automatically infer what type of tuna you want to add because you've already added a specific brand to your trolley before. So to build a skill, it's quite easy. If you do get into the documentation, I think it's worth differentiating between the Alexa voice service, which is how you add Alexa to physical things. And this is what I was saying earlier about making sure that anyone can access Alexa no matter what device they're using. So this is a free set of libraries that anyone can use, no licensing fees, that you can use to Alexa enable your things, whether they be virtual things like a piece of software, or whether they be physical things like this light or that camera. There's some partners that are already adding Alexa. But what I'm going to talk to you about today is the other side of it. So once you have Alexa everywhere, what sort of experience can you access, right? What sort of content can you use? And it comes through skills. How do you build a skill? We're going to find out now. So I'm going to quit out and walk you through it. The timer's gone because it was on PowerPoint, so someone has to keep me honest. But there's two sides to building a skill. I'm going to zoom in so everyone can see. The first side to building a skill is the voice user interface. And it happens on developer.amazon.com. So I'm going to go to developer.amazon.com. And if you've ever developed for any Amazon thing, you're familiar with this portal. But if you've never built a skill, you probably aren't. So I'm going to go to Alexa. And I will go to my skills. We just launched it in Italy and Spain, by the way, today. How do we build ignore the pork squirrel. This was a suggestion from the crowd of another, it's okay. But rather than just doing a template, which I'm sure you can find tons of online, how about we build one together? Now, anyone have an idea for a skill that we can build quickly? Random idea, doesn't have to. What's the weather? Okay, that's one idea. Although Alexa does that already, but we can use it as a plan B. Anyone else? Sing me the top song, okay. All right, let's do something, let's do this, mainly because it's gonna uncover some of the features. So let's go to English, UK. And what should we call the skill? What's the pub called?
Theodore Bullfrog.
Sorry?
The Theodore Bullfrog.
Let's just call it the bullfrog. Bullfrog, or the bullfrog. So custom skill is basically the blank canvas. We can do whatever we want. Flash briefing is a RSS feed of either text or audio snippets that people can add to their flash briefing list and consume every day or every week. Smart home is a limited subset of commands that allow you to invoke them without asking for the skill. So you can say turn off the lights and Alexa will automatically invoke the skill that you've built. But with custom, we can have any command. And video is like a custom skill with some video handlers. So we're going to just bake a custom skill. So we're going to go ahead and click Create Skill about the bullfrog. And we're going to start from scratch. And this is what the developer console looks like. So we have various steps. We have the build section. Hopefully everyone can see. The build section, the test section, distribution, certification, analytics. Everything has to be done in order. So the first thing that we should do is add an invocation name. We could keep open the bullfrog, but yeah, let's just keep open the bullfrog. So the bullfrog is the invocation name. The invocation name doesn't have to be the same as the skill name. It's just what people have to say to invoke it. If you're used to building apps, how you get people to use your app is to click on a button and go into the relative app store and downloading it. With skills, they're never downloaded and installed. They're just enabled. So you can just share a sentence like Alexa, open the bullfrog, or Alexa, ask the bullfrog when it closes. And if it's not enabled on the account, Alexa will automatically enable it and let you speak with it. So it's kind of like an installation with one sentence. So we have some built-in intents, fallback, cancel, help, stop, which are pretty self-explanatory. These are intents that every skill should satisfy in order to guarantee a consistent customer experience, but we're going to add our own intent, which, for example, is get closing time, right? Now, Alexa doesn't have any sort of understanding of what get closing time is, so we have to give examples of what sentences can trigger get closing time. So, for example, what time does it close? What time does the pub close? Any other examples?
When's last orders?
When is last orders, etc. Right? How long do I have to get drunk, right? Etc. We won't add that one. Okay, and you can have a lot of different intents. For example, if we wanted to have a more complex intent that didn't just trigger a simple intention like get closing time, but it maybe wanted to get the price of a beer. In order to get a price of a specific beer, you need to have the variables passed along, right? Because the way that Alexa works is it will parse what the user says. So if I say, Alexa, ask the bullfrog what time it closes, it will detect that we're invoking the bullfrog skill, and it will pass along not the raw sentence, it will pass along the intent that's being triggered, right? So if we only get the intent, for some intents, we also need additional information like variables. So for example, if we have like get price of beer, right, which is another intent that we're just making up, we might want to have to specify what beer brand we have and what yeah, what beer brand we have. So what is the price of, and we'll just make a variable called beer, which we call slots. What is the price of beer? Or how much is beer, right? Basically like a wildcard. And we just have to give it a type. Now, I don't think there's any beer built-in slot types which have been pre-trained, but that's fine. We can just build our own type. Now, some of these built-in types are very useful because, for example, time and date and numbers, you don't want to have to parse those yourself, right? If someone says 3 weeks from now, you want the ISO date code that you can just pipe into moment.js and not have to worry about it. So what I'm going to keep here is basically make our own. So we can make our own slot type called beers, and here we would either download a huge list of beer types or the ones that the pub has. Maybe I'm just making them up, but like Frontier. Any other suggestions? I'm sure people have ideas for this one. Any other beer names? No one? What, just look at the bottle that you have in your hand. Stella? Is it like that? Yeah? Anyways, you get the idea. Corona, just thinking of random ones. What's another tap? Sorry?
Leffe.
Guinness. That's a hard one. Leffe, this one, like that.
Yeah.
So you basically train the slot to recognize beers, right? It's not a closed list. So if someone asks for something that's not in the list, it'll still pick it up. It'll just have more difficulty if it's a weird name to match it to an English word, right? Maybe Leffe, if we hadn't added it to our slot type, it might have converted it to left or to leaf. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So we go back to price of beer and we assign our new beers slot type, capitalized, just my choice, to the beer variable, which is the slot. We save the model and we build it. Now building the model kicks off the whole machine learning process. So it's digesting what we've done and it's adding it to the knowledge graph. So we could technically already use the skill. However, to use the skill, we need to satisfy the backend, and this is where Node.js comes in, right? So how do we add the backend? So you have two choices as an endpoint. You can specify a Lambda. How many of you use Lambda? Okay. Or you can just specify your own HTTPS endpoint. For example, if you're using another serverless function from other providers, or you're using you're using your own local server, you're using your own hardware, you can just put in an HTTPS endpoint and it'll just send a post request with a JSON request that I'll show you what it's like in just a second. We're going to go with Lambda and we'll just create a quick Lambda function. So let's zoom in here. So I'm in AWS now. I'm just going to go to Lambda. And I'm going to go to create function. I'm a bit too zoomed in. And you can author it from scratch, but just for the sake of keeping it under 20 minutes, I'm going to use the serverless application repository so it already has the node modules that I need to simplify the JSON parsing and JSON formulation back to the Alexa service. If you're in Ireland, I recommend you stay in Ireland, not London, even though it seems obvious to be in London. But if the Alexa skills kit trigger for Lambda is only available in Ireland and Europe. So we're going to stick with the Ireland region, go with the Alexa serverless, AWS serverless application repository, and click on the fact skill template. We won't be using the code, but we will be using the libraries that the template comes with. And we'll call this bullfrog deploy. Essentially, if you've never used the serverless application repository, it's a interface, and it's like a collection of CloudFormation templates that just create a stack. And in this case, it's going to create a Lambda function, create a role specific to that Lambda function with basic permissions, and assign it Alexa skills kit trigger, which is a trusted trigger so that the Alexa service can ping your Lambda, and your Lambda can process the request and formulate a response back. Because really, what you should see the developer console as is the front end, which I was telling you, the voice interface, right? Where you define the intents and how users can interact with your skill. But the back end, which doesn't have to be AWS, but in this case it is what you actually say back to the user. Now it's done, it's created it, so we can go to our Lambda function. And I'll just walk you through the template code, even though we won't be using it. It's pretty self-explanatory if you're familiar with JavaScript and Node.js. Basically, what we're doing is we have a handler for one or more intents. So for example, in the fact skill template, there's a handler for both the launch request, when I say open the fact skill, right? Or the intent to get new fact. We won't be using this intent, we'll be using the get beer by price or whatever. And you see that each handler has two methods. Can handle, which checks whether this is the right handler for the incoming request. And if it is, if it returns true, then we will use the handle method of this handler. So you write as many handlers as you want, and they can become pretty complex with state management based on what intent is being triggered and what's happening in your application state. And then you just write the actual business logic in the handler or call the business logic from the handle method. And really all we're doing is we're creating a response builder object that speaks out something, and it can be text or audio, and it can send back other things like a multimodal template if you're using the Echo Show or the Echo Spot, or a card to the Alexa app. For example, here there's the help handler, which is even simpler, right? It'll be used to handle the request if the request type is an intent request and the intent name is amazon.help-intent, which, by the way, is exactly the same as the built-in intent here, right? Amazon.help-intent. So every intent will have a handler, but you can also group different intents to one handler, like we did in the get new fact handler that supports the launch request and the get new fact intent. But I will just delete everything, and I will use a little tool that my team has created, which is the code generator. And the code generator, I'll share the link later, basically just takes in the JSON representation of what we've done in the front end, right? So you go to the JSON editor and you copy this JSON, and you paste it in, and based on that JSON, it just scaffolds your code with your intents and a bunch of other helper functions, which might get confusing if you're just starting out. So if you are starting out, maybe I suggest you follow a normal template. I will link to them at the end. But let's just copy and paste here and go to our intents. So you see that there's the cancel intent, which is a built-in intent. There's the fallback intent, which is a built-in intent. But there's also our custom ones, like get closing time, right? In this case, the boilerplate will say hello from get closing time. And the get price of beer. And you'll see that it has also parsed the incoming slots and created a slot values object with heard as or resolved in case you use synonyms. But I am getting a little bit ahead of myself. So let's zoom out of this and show you how to connect the Lambda and the skill. So every Lambda has a ARN, which is a replacement in our case for the HTTPS address. So the ARN is Amazon resource name. It's the unique identifier for every resource in Amazon and in Amazon Web Services. And what we're going to do is copy this and paste it as the endpoint of our skill. And just by doing that, we are ready to test it. So it's saved. We can go to test. We already built the model, so it's already in the knowledge graph. And we can say, if the demo gods, well, we enable testing. And if the demo gods are willing, we do open the bullfrog. And what's going to happen, it will trigger. Okay, the audio is not very good from the HDMI, but let's try just. Can you all hear this better?
Hello and welcome to the bullfrog.
Yeah?
Say help to hear some options.
Okay. So this is just a placeholder response that the code generator has created. Now let's modify it. But first I wanted to show you what the incoming request looks like, because all Alexa skill development is parsing a JSON request in and formulating a JSON response out. So here you have a session, which can have type true. And then you have, for example, when we say open, we trigger the launch request. And this is why, since the request.type is launch request, when we go back to our function and we check the code, you'll see that we have a handler that only returns true if the request.type is launch request. Let's go here, I think it is. No, let's launch request. And then I'll also show you how you don't have to code in the browser either. So you see here, the launch request handler will be used if the request.type is launch request. In this case, it will say hello and welcome to the bullfrog. Say help to hear some options. What should we say back to the user when they say help? When they say open the bullfrog? Welcome to the bullfrog. We are anxious to host you after the meetup. And here you would also maybe add maybe some explanation, right? Like, what can your skill do? You can ask us for beer prices or closing times. What shall it be? And the cool thing about developing skills, well, I press save now, and I stop the context, and now I can just do
Okay, talk to you later.
open the bullfrog.
Welcome to the Bullfrog. We are anxious to host you after the meetup. You can ask us for beer prices or closing times. What shall it be?
You see there was no deployment, no installation, no copying and pasting stuff. And if I had a real device here registered to my developer account, which can be my Amazon account. So if your developer account on developer.amazon.com is the same email as your Amazon account where you have your physical devices registered to, then the skill will automatically work there as well. So you can just say open the bullfrog with your voice and it'll work. But then to have other people use it on other accounts, you will need to go through the distribution, which is free, the analytics, which is free, and the certification, which is free as well. So there's no cost associated with building it. The last thing I wanted to show you is triggering a specific intent. So if we go back to not the launch request, but to the, let's do them in order. Let's go to the get closing time, right, which is here. Let's just respond back with, what time does the pub close? Anyone know? Today we close, sorry? I say, okay. Close at sorry, right? And now we can say, what time do you, or what time does it close?
Today we close at 11 p.m. Sorry.
And obviously here you wouldn't hard code the string. You would maybe query a table that you have with the closing times. You could do whatever you want, but now we get into the realm of normal Node.js development, not Alexa specific development. And the last thing is to look at slots. So here we have, I'll show you what the request looks like when we use slots. Instead of just saying hello from get price of beer, let's say something a bit more, let's parse the incoming slot. Now this is just some helper functions to formulate a boilerplate response. Let's go here. Sorry, I'm jumping in. But again, we're in the get price of beer handler. There's one handler for each type of intent. And here we say, so the get slot values function returns a heard as and resolved for each slot. So we can do the if, or we can do if slot values and slot values dot, what did we call it? Beer? Then we can do say is equal to the price, oh wait, that's already there. The price of slot values dot beer dot heard as is, and we'll make it up, £2. Hey, I'm being optimistic. And else we'll just say equals, I didn't quite catch that beer name, that beer. What is it again? And then we'll just respond back with say. Let's try that. So here we'll say, what is the price of Frontier?
The price of Frontier is £2.
And you see here how the request has an intent with name get price of beer, and therefore we are using this handler because the request is of type intent request, and the request intent.name is get price of beer, so there's a match. Therefore, it will return true, and this handler will be used. And since the slot values object is defined, it will go into here, as you know, this is just JavaScript, and it will say this. Here again, you would probably query a table or something. But the cool thing is that you have this object here. This is exactly what your Lambda function receives. Then the SDK does some jumbling it for you, so you don't have to worry about parsing it manually. But you see here, everything is here. You see you have the slots there's one called beer, because we only have one slot in this intent, with name beer and value frontier. If we say, what is the price of leffe?
The price of laugh is £2.
But also if we say, what is the price of bananas?
The price of bananas is £2.
We didn't add bananas to the slot type, but it's still picking it up and passing it to us because it realized that that word was the thing that we were asking the price for, which is in the wildcard. So of course, the next steps would be to remove these random strings and actually put some hard-coded values. And you don't need to, you don't need me to teach you how to do that. This is just regular JavaScript, just to make a HTTP call or query your DynamoDB table or any other database that you may have. What I did want to share with you, though, is things that you can do to get started. So I'm actually going to paste them here so you can take pictures. So the first thing is you can start at alexa.design/node SDK. So this is the GitHub repo for the SDK that we're using with Lambda, and it has a ton of sample templates from hello world all the way to complex interactions. So you can kind of pick and match with what type of skill you're trying to build. And the other thing that I would recommend checking out is voice design best practices. So alexa.design/guide. And this is just a working document where you can check how to build good skills, not just skills that work. And then if you didn't need any other incentives, right, because this talk was so interesting and you're just going to go home, skip the next talk, and just start building skills, just kidding, then what you should keep in mind is that if you build skills by the 15th of December, if you build 3 of them and you sign up for the developer promo, we'll send you an Echo Spot. If you also publish a 4th one that has multi-display functionality, we'll give you an Echo Show. And if your skill, which is the most important thing, is one of the top 25 most used skills that period, then you will also get a collectible figurine, the Alexa Super Skills figure. 0 resale value, but infinite bragging rights, and much more valuable than devices that anyone can buy. So if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out. Hopefully I was in time, and happy to answer questions if there's going to be a break sooner or later. So thank you very much.